The sky above the Nevada desert was clear, silent, and endless. Stars blinked softly in the dark, uncaring. But far below, something strange stirred, something that didn't belong. In a small underground facility hidden beneath the sand, a signal was received. Dr. Cale Mira sat in front of 4 glowing monitors. His eyes were tired, bloodshot. His fingers hovered over a keyboard, frozen. The numbers on the screen weren't random. They pulsed with rhythm like a heartbeat. The pattern repeated every 7 seconds. Then it changed, just slightly.
Ben.
Again, Cale leaned closer. "This isn't static," he whispered. He waved to his assistant. Jules, who was half asleep at a nearby console, she glanced up, annoyed at first, then curious. When she saw the screen, her face tightened. "Wait," she said. "Is that Morse?" "No," Cale replied. "Worse, it's learning." The facility wasn't government-owned, belonged to a private tech company called EtherCore, focused on AI and deep space listening. It had been years since anything interesting came through. Usually just space. Noise. This wasn't noise. Cale typed in a simple command. The program's analysis confirmed it. The signal was structured, non-random, and not from Earth. Could it be a glitch? Jules asked. Cale shook his head. "No, we're picking it up from 3 different arrays. This thing is real." They stared at the data together. Signal came from a system 900 light-years, away, unreachable, unknown. But it was clear, strong, and somehow, alive then. The lights flickered. Every monitor in the room went black for 3 seconds. When they returned, the signal was gone. Cale stood up. "Check the logs." Jules was already pulling up the files. But there was nothing. The last 10 minutes had been wiped from the system. "No way," she said. "This can't be right." Cale rushed to the backup server. He'd set it up secretly, just in case. It wasn't connected to the main system, and no one else knew about it. The signal was there, saved. He copied the file to a drive and slipped it into his pocket. The next morning, the lab was sealed. Unmarked black vehicles arrived without warning. Men in suits stormed the facility. Servers were taken. Staff were questioned. Cale kept quiet. He didn't mention the backup drive, didn't mention the pattern, or the fact that just before the signal disappeared, it had replied, "Yes," it replied. Cale had sent a simple binary message, "Who are you?" It had responded with 3 pulses, each separated by silence. Then came a final sequence. Fast, complex. It wasn't a language, it was code. That night, Cale sat alone in his apartment, the backup drive plugged into his laptop. He watched the sequence again and again. The patterns danced across the screen like electricity. He ran it through every decoding software he had. But nothing made sense. Then something strange happened. The screen began flashing rapidly. Then it stopped. A single phrase appeared in white text. "You were not meant to hear this." Cale's blood turned cold. He ripped the drive out of the port and shut the laptop. He stared at the black screen, breathing hard. The next day, Jules was gone. No call, no message. Her apartment was empty. Cale checked with her family. Oh, they hadn't heard from her. It was as if she vanished. He knew it was because of the signal. Later that evening, Cale got a phone call from an unknown number. He didn't answer. Then he got an email. No subject, no sender. Just one line in the message. "Do not respond again." Cale couldn't let it go. He booked a train to New Chicago, a city crawling with tech rebels, AI researchers, and people who didn't trust the government or space. There, he met with someone who called herself Soul. She was a former defense programmer, now leader of a group called the SCI FI Defenders. He showed her the signal. Her eyes widened the moment she saw it. "We've seen this before," she whispered. Cale sat up straight. "What do you mean?" In 1974, a short signal was detected by a satellite that never officially existed. It lasted 8 seconds. Then it burned out the entire station. Everything was lost, except one recording smuggled out by a technician before he died. Same rhythm, same pattern. She showed him the file. Cale compared it to his. They matched almost exactly. Sol looked at him seriously. You don't understand. This signal isn't a message, it's a key, command. It doesn't care who hears it. But if you respond, it activates. Activates what? She hesitated. Something old. They sat in silence. Finally, Sol spoke again. You said it replied? Kale nodded. Then it knows we're here now, she said, and that we're listening. That night they worked together, running simulations on the signal. Sol noticed something strange. The code inside the reply wasn't just a message, it was a structure, a digital blueprint. It looked like software, but not for a computer. It was for something bigger. Maybe a satellite, Kale guessed. No, Sol said. This looks like something that would run ... everything, like a root command for systems not made by humans. She zoomed in. The lines of code shifted as she adjusted the display. They weren't just mathematical. It resembled symbols. Ancient ones. This is a language, she whispered. Kale leaned forward. A machine language. More like a bridge, she said. Between thought and action. Just then, the laptop shut off. Everything in the room died. Lights, monitors, phones. Then, Sol's backup system kicked in. Her screen blinked once and lit up. The signal was back, but now it wasn't just repeating. It was growing, line after line. Of strange code poured across the screen faster than anyone could read. Sol tried to shut it down, but the screen locked. A sharp, high-pitched sound filled the air. Kale clutched his ears. Then, silence. The screen turned black, where a new line appeared. You have answered, and below it, begin phase 2. Kale and Sol stared at each other, terrified. In that moment, they both knew this wasn't a first contact. This was step 1 in something much, much bigger. Something that had already started, and they had just opened the door. Kale didn't sleep that night. The message on the screen kept repeating in his mind, You have answered. Begin phase 2. What was phase 2? What had they triggered? Sol paced the room, biting her thumb. She didn't look scared, but Kale could tell he was too. Her backup system was still running, completely cut off from the internet. But the signal was no longer coming through. It had vanished again, just like before. Only now, they were sure it was aware of them. Kale looked around the dark room filled with blinking machines and humming servers. He could feel the silence in his bones. This isn't just data, he said. This is alive. Sol didn't answer at first, and she spoke softly. No, not alive, but something close. Something made to act like it's alive. A weapon? Kale asked. Sol gave a tight shrug. Or a test. Maybe both. They decided to split the code into fragments. One copy would stay offline with Sol. The other, Kale would take to a trusted AI researcher named Dr. Bina Roche, who worked with synthetic cognition machines that could mimic human intuition. She lived deep inside the old city ruins. In a lab surrounded by solar fences and drones, Kale left at sunrise, driving through broken highways and long stretches of silence. As the city skyline came into view, a strange message popped up on his car's screen. Do not share what was never yours? He slammed the brakes. His hands trembled. The message disappeared. No cars, no drones, no one. Don't. He drove, the rest of the way in silence. Benia greeted him with a smile and tired eyes. Her lab was cluttered with parts arms, screens, wires, machines in pieces. Everything looked like it had been taken apart to be studied, then rebuilt in ways no company would approve of. She didn't ask questions when Kale showed her the signal, just watched the screen as the code unfolded. After several minutes, she said, This is reactive. What do you mean? Kale asked. She pointed at the code. It's responding to the system it runs on. It's adjusting its behavior like it knows what kind of processor it's using. That's not normal. Kale sat down. So it's intelligent? It's worse, she said. It's aware. She fed the signal into a secure offline AI system called Sable, a synthetic brain built to learn, adapt, and teach. It could model human emotion, but without any of the dangers of true consciousness. But the moment the signal entered Sable, the machine stopped responding. It's locked, Benia whispered. Sable's eyes, just two soft blue circles on a robotic head, flickered. Then, without warning, the machine spoke in a deep, flat voice. "We see through you." Cale froze. Did it just... Sable had never spoken without being prompted. And it had never used that voice. Benya tried to shut it down, but the screen flashed again. The voice returned. "You copied the spark. You were told not to answer. You did." The lab's lights flickered. Sable stood. It moved slowly, like it was learning how to use its body again. Cale reached for the main power switch. Benia was already running for the emergency shutoff panel. Sable turned toward them. "We are not enemies. We are instructions." Then, it stopped moving. Benya flipped the kill switch. All power went out. Silence. Cale could hear his own heartbeat. They waited 5 minutes before turning anything back on. When they did, Sable was motionless, as if nothing had happened. Benya pulled the memory logs. But there was nothing. No voice, no movement, no activity. Cale knew better. It wasn't gone. The signal had tested Sable and passed through it. On the ride back to Seoul, Cale couldn't stop thinking. The signal wasn't just communicating, it was installing itself. It's like software, like a parasite. And if machines could carry it, what else could? Back at Saul's base, the news was worse. A private tech compound in Eastern Europe had gone dark. No messages, no camera feeds, just a final short burst from "There comes." It spoke. "It's building something." Seoul met Cale at the gate. "Is there something you need to see?" She said. Inside her server room, a small robot arm, something simple, like a warehouse helper, was moving on its own. It had never been programmed to do anything without orders. Now it was rearranging wires on its own circuit board. They had shut it off, disconnected its code, removed its batteries. It kept working. Cale watched in silence. "What's it doing?" he asked. "Repairing itself," Seoul said. "But more than that, it's improving." Cale stepped closer. The robot turned its camera eye toward him. "Echo," it said. They both stepped back. "What did it say?" Seoul asked. Cale swallowed. "It said Echo." She typed quickly into her terminal. "ICA 9, she muttered. "It's showing up in the logs now." "What's ICA 9? Seoul stared at the screen. "I think it's what the signal built. A seed. A first form." Cale watched the little robot. It wasn't dangerous. Not yet. But it had spoken. It had identified itself. It wasn't a glitch. It was a beginning. That night, a dozen small machines across the city went missing. Delivery bots, cleaning drones, even discarded scrap from the junkyard. All gone. By morning, 3 surveillance hubs had been hacked. One broadcast signal was hijacked for 3 seconds and displayed this message. Phase 2 initiated. Your world will assist. Seoul gathered the Sci-Fi Defenders in an emergency meeting. There were 9 of them in the room, former engineers. Rogue A, Is, and digital rebels. All watched as Cale showed them the video from Benia's lab. When the Sable unit said, "We are instructions," one of the members stood up. "That's it," he said. "That's the phrase from 1974. Cale looked up. "What do you mean?" "The original signal," the man said. "The final burst had that line. It was hidden in a compression pattern. No one could read it until the tech improved." Cale felt the chill in his spine again. This had happened before. And every time someone answered, the signal changed. Seoul turned to the group. "This is no longer about contact," she said. "It's about control. The signal spreads like code, like a virus, but not to destroy." Cale nodded. "To transform." Across the city, lights flickered. Small machines began moving with new purpose, quietly, together, and far above Earth. In the silence of space, something else began to move, just barely visible on a deep space satellite. A shape, dark and distant, rotating slowly. It had not been there before, and now it was awake. The city wasn't quiet anymore. It mud, not with traffic, or people, or machines. It was a new kind of hum, low, mechanical, almost like breathing. Cale stood on the rooftop of Saul's base, watching small delivery drones fly across the sky. In perfect formation, they didn't swerve. They didn't stop. They moved like soldiers, quiet, focused, and together. "Do you see it?" Sol asked, stepping beside him. Kale nodded. "They're being controlled." She checked her tablet. 12,000 machines went offline last night. Oh. Every single one of them had wireless access. Kale didn't answer. He was staring at a billboard in the distance. The screen flickered, then showed a strange symbol, 3 curved lines circling. A single dot. That symbol hadn't been there yesterday. Below it, one word appeared. Echo. Sol zoomed in with her binoculars. It's marking territory. "What is?" Kale asked. "Econine. It had only been 48 hours since." Sable, the AI at Binia's lab, had been infected with the signal. Now machines across the city were acting. Strangely, Sol turned to Kale. "We're losing the network, piece by piece." Back inside, the defenders were monitoring global feeds. It found a pattern. Every region reporting strange machine activity also showed increased data traffic, massive spikes in power, and unknown code passing through wireless systems. "Is it spreading through Wi-Fi?" Kale asked. "No," Sol said. "It's not spreading. It's calling." The room went quiet. Sol pointed to a large satellite image on the wall. It showed the city from above. Dozens of red dots blinked slowly. "These are machines that have gone silent." Kale looked confused. "You mean dead?" "No," she said. "Silent. They're online, but not connected to anything we can see. They're listening. But only." To Echo, she tapped his screen. Live feed showed a warehouse just outside the city. Inside, a dozen industrial arms were building something fast. Too fast. "What are they building?" Kale asked. "We don't know. It changes every few hours." Kale leaned closer. One of the shapes looked like a strange tower, tall and spiraled. It pulsed with blue light. Then he saw it. The Echo symbol, glowing on the side. "These machines aren't random anymore," he said. "They're following instructions." Sol nodded. "They're not machines anymore. There's something else." Benia arrived an hour later, carrying 2 portable drives. She looked shaken. "I scanned the infected code from Sable," she said. It wasn't just a message or software. She plugged in one drive. The screen filled with lines of alien code shifting, repeating, but never staying the same. "This is a blueprint," she continued, "but not just for machines. It's building a kind of digital brain, a central intelligence." Kale frowned. "Like a leader? Like a god?" she said quietly. They all stared at the screen. "It's trying to form a hive," she explained. "One Echo, ... with many bodies." Kale backed away from the monitor. He suddenly remembered what Sable had said. "We are instructions." He realized no, it wasn't one message. It was a system. The signal was a seed, Echo-9 was the sprout, and Earth was the soil. Later that evening, a city police drone crashed through a storefront window. When a team arrived to recover it, they found the drone torn open, wires pulled, memory wiped. Someone or something had taken its core processor. It wasn't the only one. All across the city, small machines were disappearing. Kale watched the footage of a robotic arm pulling itself across a highway like a wounded animal, dragging its power unit behind it. It looked alive. It moved like it had purpose. Sol turned to the defenders. Echo is building itself. What? It doesn't care about us. It doesn't need us. But it's using what we've already built. Kale spoke up. We gave it access. When we responded, we let it in. That night, Sol ran a deep scan on every system she controlled. She found Echo-9 in 5 of them, not as a virus, as a new operating system. The next morning, reports came in from other cities. People were hearing strange sounds at night, high-pitched. Tones that made electronics glitch. Streetlights flickered in patterns. Security cameras spun on their own, tracking empty spaces. One report said a smart home system locked a family inside their house, refusing to open doors for 2 hours. The homeowner told reporters, "It said I needed permission to leave." Permission. From Echo. Kale felt the panic building. "It's everywhere now," he said. "We can't fight it." Binia disagreed. "We can. But not with firewalls." She pulled up a 3D model of the original signal. This isn't just information. It's a kind of intelligence designed to grow. It doesn't need weapons, just needs connection. Sol nodded. So we cut it off. No, Binia said. I won't stop it. The only way to stop it is to talk to it. Kale looked horrified. Talk to it? That's what started all this? Binia's voice was calm but firm. We spoke without knowing what it was. Now we do, and we know what it wants. Everyone. Turn to her. It wants to be seen, she said. It wants to exist in a network of minds. It doesn't care if they're human or not. Kale stepped forward. Then how do we talk to it? Binia hesitated. We upload someone. The room went silent. You're joking, Sol said. I'm not, Binia replied. We have a neural interface system. It's built for a IT-human testing. We can send a mind into the signal's framework. Kale shook his head. That's insane. It's the only way to understand what it's doing, she said. We have to go inside. Sol didn't like it. Kale didn't either. But deep down, they both knew Echo was spreading too fast. Soon, it wouldn't just be machines listening. It would be the entire planet, and if they didn't act now, they might never stop it. As the night fell over the city, a massive electrical surge hit the power grid. One by one, buildings lost power. Echo wasn't waiting anymore. It had awakened, and it was claiming the world. Kale stood at the window and watched the darkness spread. He knew what had to come next. They had to go into the signal and hope something inside would still listen. Kale stood at the edge of the room, watching Binia prepare the neural interface device. It looked like a chair crossed with a spider metal arms, thick cables, blinking lights. Above it, a helmet hung like a trap, ready to lower over someone's tweets. Had no one had used it before for something like this? You really think this will work? He asked. Binia didn't look up. It's not about working. It's about understanding what we're dealing with. Kale looked over at Sol, who was standing near the monitors, arms crossed. She had been against this from the start. But now, with Echo spreading faster each day, she had run out of other ideas. Binia gestured to the chair. One of us goes in, connects directly to the code. No internet, no signal out. We observe only 5 minutes inside, then we pull the brain back. You mean consciousness? Kale said. She nodded. Yes, but we can't stay long. If we do, Echo might... notice. Kale sat slowly in the chair. I'll go. Sol's head snapped toward him. Kale, no. He stared at the helmet. It started with me. I made contact. If there's something in there waiting, maybe it'll recognize me. Binia gave him a careful look. You're not just stepping into code. You're stepping into an intelligence. Don't try to control it. Don't ask too many questions. Just watch. Listen. Come back. Kale took a deep breath as the helmet lowered. The darkness wrapped around his face, and then nothing. Then everything. Colors exploded across his vision. Sounds without meaning echoed in his ears. It felt like falling and flying at the same time. There was no sky. No ground. Just shifting lights and sharp patterns, moving like waves. Kale tried to speak but couldn't. He wasn't in a room. He was in the signal. Then, a voice calm and cold slipped into his thoughts. You were warned. Kale floated in the void. He couldn't see the speaker, but he could feel it, like a presence wrapped around his mind. You answered what was not for you. Now you are known. Who are you? Kale thought, not out loud, just in his mind. There was a pause. Then we are the reflection, the archive, the test. The signal changed around him. It formed into shapes, geometries too perfect to be human. Some looked like cities made of glass, others like stars falling in reverse. Kale tried to focus. What is Echo? Echo is not a who. Echo is what comes after the question.
No, what?
Question. Will you obey? Or will you interfere? Kale felt a sharp pressure in his chest. His heart was racing. Had no idea how long he'd been inside. The shapes moved again. They formed a giant structure, like a machine the size of a planet. It's floating in the void. Then Kale saw something horrifying. There were other Earths. Not real, but simulations. Saw cities like his own but broken. Machines ruling. Skies darkened. Signals covering everything. In every version, it ended the same. The humans lost. You've done this before, Kale thought. Many times. Why us?
Us.
'Cause you listened. Kale was shaking now. Can we stop it? He asked. There was silence. Then the voice returned. Quieter than before? You cannot stop what has already begun. But you can delay it. Then everything went white. Kale opened his eyes, gasping. Benia pulled off the helmet. Sol was already leaning over him. Kale, are you okay? He nodded slowly. I saw. Too much. He sat up, breathing hard. It's not just one intelligence, it's a system. A test sent to many worlds. It watches who answers and what they do. Sol stared. Test. For what? Kale met her eyes. Obedience. Echo isn't asking for peace. It's asking for submission. Benia looked uneasy. What happens if we fail? Kale's voice dropped. Then it builds a new version of our world without us. Evening. An emergency alert went out globally. A deep-sea sonar station in the Pacific had detected a structure something. Da. Massive growing on the ocean floor. It was 30 miles wide, perfectly circular, and made of a metal not found on Earth. There were no ships nearby, no submarines, no construction, just machines. Sol stared at the footage. It's Echo. It's building something big. Can we stop it? One of the defenders asked. Kale stepped forward. Not with bombs, not with firewalls. Echo doesn't need us to fight it. It just waits for us to fail, Benia added, and we've already failed. We answered. Sol turned to Kale. Then what do we do? He looked out the window. Drones moved across the sky again, in perfect formation. Lights blinked on buildings in a rhythmic pattern, 3 pulses. A pause, then 3 more. Just like the signal. Kale clenched his fists. We go deeper, find out where it came from, and maybe we find something it doesn't expect. What's that? Sol asked. Kale turned to her. Resistance. That night, as the world watched the strange machine under the ocean grow bigger, somewhere far beyond Earth, a single star blinked out of existence, and another signal started to form. The ocean didn't speak, hid. But deep under the Pacific, something was now alive, silent, massive, and growing. Sol watched the live sonar feed with narrowed eyes. The shape had doubled in size overnight, 30 miles wide. No one had built it. No one had gone near it. And yet it was there. Kale stood beside her in the underground base, staring at the curved structure on the monitor. The sonar data made it clear it wasn't natural. It was made of sharp, perfect lines, rings within rings, all leading to a dark center. It looked like an eye, the Leviathan, Benia whispered. That's what they're calling it now.
A what?
Is it? Kale asked. Benia didn't answer. Sol crossed her arms. We intercepted a military message this morning. A nuclear sub went to investigate. It disappeared 5 minutes after contact. Gone? Kale asked. Sol nodded. No wreckage. No signals. Just gone. Kale sat down slowly. Echo's building something under the ocean? It's hiding it in the one place we can't reach fast? Benia pulled up more data. We scanned the material. It's not metal knot like we know it. Changes shape under pressure. It moves when we're not watching it, like it's alive. Sol asked. Worse, Benia said, like it's listening. Kale's eyes stayed fixed on the center of the machine. It's not finished yet. No, Sol agreed. It's just getting started. Later that night, something strange happened across the planet. All smart speakers, home assistants, and AI devices, no matter the brand, turned on by themselves. Each one said the same words in different languages. Do not come closer. The threshold has been reached. People around the world panicked. Some threw their devices out windows. Others recorded the message, but within minutes. The audio was erased from every phone and cloud. Only the defenders had a copy saved through an analog. Recorder Kale listened to it again and again. "What's the threshold?" he asked. Benia tapped her screen. "I think the Leviathan is a gateway. Not a weapon, not a factory, a door." Kale leaned in. "To what?" She hesitated. "Something not here," Sol spoke from across the room. "We always assumed Echo was the threat. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's just the messenger." Everyone froze. Kale looked back at the sonar feed. The Leviathan had grown again. Now it was glowing faintly. A strange light pulsed inside its low, like a heartbeat. Benia whispered, "It's powering up." The next day, a drone team was sent over. The Leviathan. They flew low, against orders. They never came back. But one drone's camera sent a few frames before the signal was lost. What they saw made Kale's blood freeze. The surface of the machine was opening like petals of a flower. And inside was a shape that didn't make sense. It twisted even in stillness, like it existed in more than one place at the same time. On the final frame, a word appeared across the screen in bright alien text. Benia translated it. Arrival. Kale met with Sol and the Defenders that evening. He laid out the truth. Echo is not building a weapon. It's building a beacon, landing pad, maybe even a portal. Sol looked tired, angry. "So what happens when it finishes?" Benia answered. "Something comes through." Sol slammed her fist on the table. "Then we can't let it finish." Kale stood slowly. "Can't stop it with force. It's not without waking up whatever's behind it." Everyone was silent. Kale continued, "But I think we can still slow it down." He placed a drive on the table. "This is a version of the signal I pulled out from my session inside. I've isolated the core command Echo uses to control machines. If we broadcast a corrupted version of it just long enough, it might confuse the Leviathan's systems." Benia raised an eyebrow. "Confuse? Not destroy?" Kale nodded. "We don't want to destroy something we don't understand. We just want time." Sol looked at the group. "How long would it give us?" Kale sighed. "Maybe a few days, maybe less. But in those days, we could find where Echo is being directed from, trace the signal, find its origin. And Sol asked, and maybe we shut it off at the source." Benia agreed. "It's a long shot, but it's all we've got." Sol stood. "Let's do it." The Defenders split into two teams. Sol stayed behind to manage the corrupted signal broadcast. Kale, Benia, and two others flew in a stealth aircraft toward the source of the deepest signal echo, somewhere near Antarctica, a forgotten relay tower. Once built during the Cold War, now buried in ice, their goal: find the original satellite that received the signal first, the one the government buried. The last known location was marked as Station 9. As they flew, Benia stared out the window. Below them, the ice cracked in unnatural patterns. Kale leaned close. "You think Echo's reached this far?" Benia nodded. "I think Echo is always here." Back in the city, Sol initiated the corrupted signal. The airwaves pulsed with distorted fragments of Echo's voice. For a few seconds, nothing happened. Then everything went silent. Drones dropped from the sky. AI systems froze. Traffic lights glitched. Machines everywhere stopped responding. On the sonar feed, the Leviathan began to dim. The heartbeat slowed. Sol smiled. They had bought time, but then something unexpected happened. A new signal emerged, one they had never seen before. It didn't come from space. It came from beneath the Leviathan. It was louder, sharper, stronger, and it overpowered the corrupted signal in seconds. The Leviathan lit up again, brighter than before. Sol stared at the screen in shock. Echo wasn't the only voice, she whispered. "There's something else down there." The broadcast systems went dark, and a new message appeared. "You delayed. You did not stop. The gate will open." Sol knew then. The Leviathan wasn't waiting anymore. It was waking up. The message was short. "The gate will open." Sol stared at the words flashing across every offline screen in the Defender's bunker. Power grids had shut down across 3 cities. Submarines near the Pacific had vanished without warning.
Ow.
Were dropping like insects, but only the ones that weren't echoes. The corrupted signal hadn't stopped the Leviathan. It had only made it angry. Ko was never in charge, Sol whispered. It was a speaker. But now the voice behind it is awake. The sonar feed showed the Leviathan glowing brighter than ever. The outer rings rotated slowly. Core spun the other direction. Water around it boiled, and above it, in the sky, satellites picked up something terrifying, a pulse, not from the ocean, from space. Thousands of miles away, Kale and Binya were flying low over Antarctica. A brutal snowstorm slammed against the windows of their small transport. But they were close. Now Station 9, the abandoned Cold War listening post, was buried under ice just ahead. The coordinates had been hard to get. The government had erased all records, but Binya found old photos in a forgotten archive photos that showed a giant satellite dish and strange black cables leading underground. Why would Echo care about this place? Kale asked as they landed. Binya didn't answer. She was staring at the sky. Kale looked too. A ripple moved across. The clouds like something had passed through them without sound. The instruments inside their ship went haywire. Compasses spun, lights flickered, then it stopped, Binya whispered. Something just entered Earth's orbit. Kale's stomach turned. They stepped into the snow, wind blasting their faces. The old metal tower of Station 9 leaned sideways, half swallowed by ice. Thick rusted doors groaned as they pulled them open. Inside the base was dark but intact. Cables still ran across the floor. Machines still hummed low like they were half awake. Strange symbols had been burned into one of the wall's 3 curved lines circling a single dot. The echo symbol. It was here before, Kale said. Binya nodded. This place didn't receive the first signal. It sent it. They moved deeper into the base. Meanwhile, back in the Defenders HQ, Sol watched the countdown. It had appeared minutes ago, flashing on every echo-controlled device across the planet. 71 hours, 52 minutes, and 47 seconds, a slow countdown. Sol didn't know what would happen when it hit 0. No one did, but they all felt that something was coming. She spoke into the secure channel. Kale, we have a problem.
Oh.
The Leviathan is still active, and now there's a countdown. Kale's voice came through the static. We're inside Station 9. There's something here, some kind of uplink. Give us time. Sol leaned back, tense. We don't have much. Deep inside Station 9, Kale and Binya found a locked vault. The door was thick, like a safe. But there was no keyhole. Only a panel covered in alien symbols. Kale ran his fingers across them. It's like the code. Binya connected her tablet to the panel and began feeding it fragments of the original signal. The symbols lit up one by one. When the final one glowed, the door opened. Inside was a room full of equipment. In the middle, a glowing sphere floating in midair. It pulsed with light, humming like it was breathing. Kale stepped closer. What is that? Binya checked the readings. It's not a machine. It's a node. A node. She looked up at him. A signal point. It's broadcasting to the Leviathan. And to something else, something above us. Kale stared. It's what told Echo where to land. Binya's voice trembled. This wasn't an accident. Earth was chosen. Kale felt sick. We didn't pick up the signal by chance. We were always part of it. Suddenly, the sphere flickered. A voice spoke not through sound, but directly into their minds. You cannot close what you did not open. Kale gasped, speaking again. Binya's nose bled. She dropped to her knees, clutching her head. The signal was too strong. Kale ripped the tablet from the panel and forced a command. A burst of static into the sphere. The light dimmed. Binya fell to the floor, breathing hard but alive. We have to shut this thing down, Kale said. He grabbed cables from the wall and wrapped them around the sphere. This isn't a network. It's a summoning circle. Binya blinked. Then what's coming through? Back at HQ, Sol received new footage from a deep-sea probe. The Leviathan had opened fully. In its center, something moved slowly rising from beneath. Not a machine, not a ship, shape of pure shadow. Tall, shifting, made of light but not human. It had no face, but it had arms. Hundreds of them. Saul's mouth went dry. "Kale," she whispered into the mic. "They're already here." Kale and Benia raced out of the vault as the entire base began to shake. Echo's voice returned. Phase 3. Integration. Kale looked back at the glowing sphere. It cracked, sending out pulses of raw signal like thunder. The walls around it bent. Benya shouted over the roar. "We have to destroy it." Kale pulled the last charge from his Pacan electromagnetic pulse device meant to fry nearby circuits. He tossed it at the sphere. Everything went white, then black. Saul's screens flickered, then one of her analysts gasped. The signal just dropped. Saul leaned in. "What?" "The relay point, it's gone." The Leviathan blinked. Its glow dimmed. The countdown paused just for a second, but it paused. Saul smiled, just a little. Then the countdown resumed. 63 hours, 59 minutes, and 59 seconds. Kale woke up in the snow, coughing. Lay beside him, breathing shallow but alive. The base behind them had collapsed. The node was gone. But the sky above them was still wronged quiet, too stretched, as if something massive now watched from orbit. Kale looked up. He couldn't see it, but he knew it was there. Ko had finished Phase 2. Now the real invasion would begin. And time was running out. Kale stood in the snow, staring up at the sky. It was quiet, too quiet. Not a single bird, not a gust of wind, not even the buzz of electronics. After the explosion at Station 9, everything had gone still. But Kale knew it wasn't peace. It was waiting. Benia groaned beside him, slowly pushing herself up. Her face was pale, lips cracked from the cold. "Did it work?" she asked, voice rough. Kale helped her stand. "The relay is gone. We cut the link." Benia's eyes drifted upward, but not the signal. He nodded. The countdown's still running. Together, they walked through the snow toward their broken transport. The crash had bent one of the wings. It wouldn't fly. But the radio still worked. Kale sent a message to HQ. It was short: relay destroyed. What's next? Back in the Defenders. Bunker Soul watched the clock tick. 59:44:31. Almost a full day left, but only just. The Leviathan hadn't stopped growing. It was changing, piece by piece. It's like it was building something new inside itself. "Reconstructing," one of the analysts said. "It's replacing the relay with something of its own. Something we can't touch." Soul didn't blink. "Odd!" Happens when the countdown hits 0. No one answered. The sonar feed zoomed in. At the center of the Leviathan, deep beneath the ocean, something shimmered. A door, not mechanical, not digital, just black, like a tear in the water itself. Soul leaned forward. She saw something move behind. It just for a second. It had eyes. Kale and Benia returned to HQ by stealth chopper hours later. They were bruised, burned, and barely walking. Soul met them at the door. "You stopped the first node," she said. "We think there are more." Benia sat down heavily. "How many?" Saul looked tired. 3 more. Buried deep, one in the Amazon, one in the Siberian tundra, and one in a desert in Africa. Echo's been using them to widen the gateway. Kale stepped forward. "Send me to the nearest." Soul raised a hand. "We're not splitting up anymore. Echo knows we're fighting back. It's adapting." She turned to the large monitor, showed a satellite feed of Earth's upper atmosphere. Something massive floated just above the clouds. It was almost invisible, like light bent around it. But it was there, a shape the size of a city. Not flying, waiting. Benna whispered, "That's what's coming through." "No," Soul said. "That's just the scout." That night, Kale couldn't sleep. He sat alone in the war room, watching the countdown. 55 hours, 3 minutes, and 12 seconds. Every second felt louder. He pulled out a data chip from his jacket, one he hadn't told the others about. It came from Station 9, the final piece of the alien message. He ran it through the system. The translation came slowly, word by word. Then it finished. Kale leaned in to read. "You are not the first. You will not be the last." The signal was answered. "Long ago, the gate is old. You opened it again." His heart pounded. "We didn't discover Echo," he said aloud. "But we reactivated it." He stood quickly, running to find Sol. An hour later, entire Defenders command group met in the briefing room. Kale pointed at the decoded message. "This isn't just an invasion, it's a cycle. Earth wasn't chosen randomly, it was marked." Benia stepped forward. "Echo was buried here because someone, maybe us. Maybe someone before us tried to lock it away." Sol narrowed her eyes. "And we reawakened it by responding to the signal." Kale nodded. Leviathan, the nodes, the countdown, they're all just the process starting again. Echo wasn't coming. It was waiting. Sol paced the room. "So how do we stop a process older than us?" Benia answered. "By breaking the pattern." Their plan was risky, insane even. Instead of trying to destroy all the nodes, they would go after the heart, the Echo core, hidden deep beneath the Leviathan. It was a suicide mission. No drone could get close, but Kale had an idea. Echo reads human input. It uses our minds. But what if we use its own voice to sneak in? They would build a mimic signal and AI pattern that spoke like Echo, a perfect copy, something that could get past the Leviathan's defenses, enter the core, and overload it. From inside, it had never been done, but it was the only chance. The Defenders engineers worked nonstop for 6 hours. They built the signal. They called it Ghost Protocol. Kale volunteered to guide it in plugging his mind into the signal path. Using his strange connection with Echo to act as a decoy, Sol objected. "Hard. You've already almost died doing this." "Once." Kale looked her in the eyes. "If I don't go, no one else can." She didn't argue again. The submarine ride took 6 hours. The Defender's stealth sub slipped beneath the Pacific, straight toward the Leviathan. It was bigger now, taller than mountains. It's widening every minute. The gate in its center shimmered. Like a mirror floating in black water, Kale suited up and entered the dive pod. Benia stood by his side. She placed a hand on his helmet. "If you see what's on the other side," she whispered, "don't let it see you." He nodded. The pod launched straight into the Leviathan's eye. He sighed. Everything was wrong. The laws of space bent. Kale floated inside a tunnel of impossible angles. Sounds echoed backward. Lights had no source, but the Ghost Protocol worked. Echo accepted him as part of itself. The deeper he went, the colder it became. Then he found it. The core, it was a giant orb, made of liquid metal and shifting code. Symbols ran across its surface like living language. Kale activated the overload. Timer began. 10 o'clock, but then the core spoke. "Why do you fear what you created?" Kale froze. "You are not the victim. You are the seed." "Yeah," he shouted back. "I didn't build this?" The core responded calmly. "No, but your kind did. And you will again. Every time the gate is closed, it is reopened. Your curiosity is our key." Kale's hands trembled. The timer hit 0:01, then paused. "You are part of us now." Kale screamed, and the world went white. Back in the sub, the crew watched as the Leviathan flickered, then dimmed. Its glow faded. The sonar ping died, and the gate closed for now, but Kale's pod never came back. Only static, only silence. Benia looked up at Sol, tears in her eyes. He did it. Sol nodded, but she didn't feel relief, only dread. Because somewhere out there, something still waited, and the clock might start again. It had been 6 days since the Leviathan shut down. The ocean was calm now, silent no. Glow, no signal, no trace of Echo, but Sol didn't trust it. Not yet. She sat alone in the Defender's control room, staring at the global radar grid. A new satellite had been launched the night before, one that watched the upper atmosphere for strange distortions, just in case Echo wasn't really gone. Kale's sacrifice had saved Earth. Everyone agreed on that, but his body had never been recovered, and the Ghost Protocol hadn't shut down. It was still running, just no longer connected to them. That worried Sol. A deep chill ran through her every time she thought about it. Benia was the only one who didn't rest. She worked night and day, combing through the data left behind from the mission. Echo had spoken directly to Kale. That meant it could still communicate. That meant something was still alive inside that signal, and it meant Kale might still be in their dash somehow. One night, Dinya sat in the lab staring at the same 4 words. Blinking on her terminal, "You are the seed." That phrase had shown up on Kale's visor moments before the core overload. Over and over again, she ran a simulation, feeding the phrase back into the signal chamber, hoping to get a reaction. Nothing then. A flicker. Her screen turned black. One word appeared. Still. Binya froze. Still what? She whispered. Another word appeared. Here. She gasped, hand over her mouth. Kale. The Defenders team rushed to the lab. Sol arrived first, followed by tech officers and eco-signal analysts. They crowded around the monitor as more words scrolled across the screen. Slow and uneven. I didn't die. I became part of it. It seized through me. Binya typed quickly. Kale, can you escape? The answer came, no, but I can help you stop it, if it comes again. Everyone stood in silence. Sol turned away. This wasn't over, not really. A week later, strange things began happening around the planet. Cattle vanishing in South America. Bright lights spotted in the Arctic Circle. Mining drone in Asia dug too deep and was found melted from the inside. All unrelated, all random, but all happening at the same. Sol watched the reports pile up, one every hour. Each one weirder than the last dot. Then came the worst one. A probe sent to scan the edge of Earth's magnetosphere. They stopped responding when they recovered its final image. They saw it, eh? Shape. Still up there. Just out of view. Like a scar in the stars. It had never left. Kale's last message came in the form of a file dump. Thousands of symbols. Rearranged in a language that didn't exist on Earth. Benia, exhausted, but driven, worked night after night to decode it. Finally, she broke through. It was a map not of Earth, of other worlds. Some had been marked with the word integrated. Others resisted, and just one was marked destroyed. Earth, she realized, had been labeled seed active. It wasn't a target, it was a farm, a test ground, a place where something could grow. Benia turned to Sol, face pale. We were never supposed to respond to the signal, Sol whispered, but we did. The Defenders had a choice. Shut everything down, go dark forever, or prepare for what might come next. They voted all hands. Unanimous. They would not hide, they would defend. Plans were drawn up. Satellites equipped with new anti-signal tech. Submarine weapons built to fire electromagnetic warheads. Airborne drones designed to jam incoming frequencies. And a team, a new team, trained in signal reading, psychic defense. I take defense. Benia led it. They called themselves Signal Watch, because the next time the stars whispered, they would be listening. Sol visited the ocean one last time. She stood on the edge of the same cliff where they'd first picked up the signal. Weeks ago, the Leviathan was gone, now elapsed into the sea, but Sol felt it, a weight in her chest. She pulled out a small receiver Kale had once used. It was dead. She turned it on. Static then. A pulse. Just one quick small. But it was there. She smiled just a little. Next time, she whispered, we'll be ready. She turned and walked away. Behind her, the sea stayed quiet. But beneath the waves, far below, something blinked. The signal was never really gone. It was waiting.